firstoffthebike.com's Tri Cafe, proudly presented by Team Degani Cycling Cafe. Here we are again, episode 7 in this beautiful, beautiful bike shop / cafe down at the Docklands. If you are in Melbourne, you've got to check it out. With me this week, raconteur and local professional triathlete Mitch Anderson, and also man about town Luke Bell, destined to just about to leave our shores. Nice to see you both here.
That was my Marcel Marceau introduction.
You're normally a lot happier than this. ITU Sydney was run and won, and it was a little bit of quite a build-up, I thought. Not so much in the press this week, but certainly a lot after the event. There was a number of things to come out of it. The first thing that I want to say, though, is Sydney is the only city in Australia that can actually hold this race.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. You know, it's got the opera houses. That's pretty much what everyone looks for. Sydney. It's got the bridge in the background, the backdrop. You know, it's where the Olympics were held. So I don't think it would be possible to run it. You know, the people may talk a Gold Coast or something like that, a warmer, sunnier venue. But you know, you talk to people overseas and you mention Australia, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, do you live in Sydney? I have a friend in Sydney. Do you know them?"
It's the only way you could have a quintessentially more Australian course is if you held it around Uluru and people had to do a lap, and that would be the 10K, and there's the pool. But I guess, yeah, the setting is amazing.
It certainly is.
Dave Hansen, so hot. He always gets it right.
Well, even though he didn't organise it, but
he did back in the Olympic days.
Back in the day, he did. Of course, the USM crew doing a nice job out there on the weekend. However, Bevan Doherty also did a very nice job as well. Now, this is a guy who has got a great track record in the ITU world, and Luke, I reckon, for mine, he's a guy who's going to win the series.
Now, we just need to clarify things. If you saw the coverage, he wasn't slicing his neck. He was doing a bit of a haka style finish. Coverage and photos were cut a little bit short, so
he finished off with a bit of...
He did indeed, but you know, outstanding performance. The guy's, you know, he's one of the strongest guys on the ITU circuit. He's taken over, I think, from where Hamish Carter sort of left off. He's able to back it up week in, week out. You mentioned before that, or earlier, that you know the likes of Brownlee and that might be a bit fragile over the series, and he's the one that you've picked to take out the series this year.
We're not doubting his speed, are we, Brownlee? We're not doubting Gomez. We're not doubting these guys, Whitfield, who've seen it all before them. But Mitch, we've talked about Brownlee before on this program. Has he got the body to get him through the rigours? When you look at, you know, someone like Doherty, who's 6 or 7 kilos heavier, a lot more experience, got a lot more miles under the belt.
Well, I just think you've answered your own question, but thanks for asking anyway. In any case, you'd have to say that Brownlee is the true ectomorph, which means basically skin and bones, whereas I think that a successful long-term body type is a bit of a mix between a mesomorph, which means muscly, and ectomorph. So you'd see the likes of Greg Bennett. Billy remembers this from his PE days. He's actually a school teacher way back when. No, seriously, the guys who have the mix of the physique are going to last a lot longer, and they're going to last into their mid to late 30s, and that's why Greg Bennett's still going around. He's come up an absolute treat in 7th place, despite only a couple of weeks' preparation.
You could nearly put him into the old Luke Van Leert, who describes himself as, you know, I have a Ferrari engine with a Volkswagen body. My body keeps breaking down, but my engine is so good.
Yep. And look, power to weight, Brownlee's going to kill him if he can be fit. And there's no doubt. None of these guys are in the same league as Brownlee, but if he doesn't make the start line, meh.
Well, it's all to unfold for the ITU season, of course. Barbara Riveros Diaz did a beautiful job as well. Now, the Chilean...
Can you just mention that again?
Just say it again. Say it again quickly.
But I need to check my notes here. Barbara Riveros Diaz. Now, she did a nice job. She was in front of Andrea Hewitt, who is a true performer in the ITU world, and also, of course, Emma Moffat, former world champion. We're saying former because the season has rolled over. She's the current and reigning. But... broken shoulder, nice job just to get that done and come in, you know, and only lost really a second on the winner. It was such a close finish.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know exactly where a fracture was, but if it's in the scapula, so at the shoulder blade at the back there.
I think it was up near head of humerus off the net.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, not her shoulder blade, I guess her shoulder then. So awesome. I heard about it be in the mix. And just goes to show that if you're on the bunch, you're in the mix.
And even that, she was ahead of Lisa Norden, who last year pushed her the whole way right through to the Gold Coast event, and she got well ahead of her and was 29 seconds up on Norden, which is a great effort, again, considering the injury. But do we give them, I mean, you guys are Ironman athletes, does it get enough credit in terms of how tough it really is? I mean, think about the guys like Brownlee, the guys like Gomez and Whitfield and Bennett, and these guys who have made the evolution of the sport. Do we give it enough credit in terms of how tough it really is?
Yeah, I think it's like you talk toughness, and it's different toughness. You know, everyone thinks Ironman's, you know, the grueling event because of the time frame. I think you talk 8.5 to 17 hours, but you know, you go out on have you ever tried going out on a track and running 400 metres in, 65-second repeats, which is what these, guys are doing. They're rolling around in 72 seconds for 400. So I dare everyone to get out there, try and run a 400 at 72 seconds or a minute 12, and then do it 12 to 15 times over.
Actually, that's what we say, don't try this at home, kids. That's why they're the pros. But I'm not going to be trying it. Having torn my hamstring at an Olympic distance race, it truly is a hard medium. And I think you've got to look at just every footage of Robbo that's ever been seen on the run with him doing this, with or without sticks. It doesn't matter. He's always looking like he's got a belly full of lactate. And I think it's just a really, really difficult thing to ascertain. If you've never done a 10K off the bike in 31 minutes or 30 minutes or 29 minutes, who knows what it feels like. Yeah.
But the one thing I think that we can agree on, though, isn't it great to see it back on television? It was on free-to-air, and congratulations to the 1HD coverage, which was a nice coverage, and it was just good to see the sport coming back, because I don't know about you guys, but I sit there watching, the most obscure sports getting on television and wonder what we're doing.
I mean, the curling world championships. No.
Paintballing?
No, but no, in all seriousness, publicity begets publicity. So we saw the knock-on effect of HD had it on. Few people would have switched over, and the flow-on effect was that it was in every national newspaper the next day, and that's fantastic for triathlon as a whole.
I think it's a little disappointing on a whole here in Australia. As you mentioned, that the coverage, it's taken this long to get it back on TV. The rest of the world follows it quite greatly, especially Europe, although most of the ITU events are, the World Championship Series is mainly in Europe. But still, the ITU triathlon.org, they have live coverage, but 1HD to have it back on from the St George days to his Blues days, when you used to look forward to a Sunday and sit down and watch it. But we've got the best athletes in the world. We've got that many. We've had more world champions than any other country. World titles. We've got juniors coming through, yet we still struggle to get into mainstream print media.
I know we've got to wrap it up, but and go to the break, Phil. But Tony Abbott, you can't discount the effect that he had on triathlon a couple of weeks ago, and that flow-on effect has actually helped the ITU racing in Australia as well. He's been doing a 1,000-kilometre ride in the last week, and I think just him being in Lycra means that we're going to see more professional athletes in Lycra in the mainstream media.
Let's hope.
Certainly can't hurt. Coming up after the break, we're going to go to have a look at the WTC's new wetsuit rule. What does it mean for you? And also we're going to do a little bit of Don't Get Me Started.